We are approaching that time of year where we get to start to unwind and relax, not work as hard, and start to enjoy the holiday season. And for many of us, this means seeing our family. And for some of us, this is a really nice experience, a joyful experience. We get to spend time with people we love. We get to celebrate the holiday together. But for some others, it is actually a miserable experience. Seeing some family members that maybe you haven't seen in a long time can bring up really unpleasant memories. You may be seeing people in your family who you consider to be quite critical of you, judgmental, even toxic and manipulative. Whatever the struggles are, we can struggle with seeing members of our family but feel obliged to see them or to spend time with them despite the impact that they have on us. Well, what I want to unpack here is what you should look out for when dealing with those family members and things you can do to help make your time during the holidays a little easier. Before we get into it, I'm Desh, I'm a qualified counsellor, and my job is to support my clients in addressing the more challenging aspects of their lives in regard to their mental health and understanding what is going on, what to do, and what actions to take to help optimize their life and make the best choices for them. And what I want to talk about in this video is that time of year where we spend time with our family. We may even see our extended family and celebrate with them, yet we may not want to. We may run into some family members who we consider toxic, who we prefer not to see, but because it's the holidays and because they're family, we feel obliged to. And we can often run into people who we consider to be quite toxic, who may manipulate us or may have manipulated us in the past, who criticize us, who judge us, who make fun of us or ridicule us. Even if it's done in a joking way, there's still something underneath that you sense is not right, that they are just being mean to you, they're being negative, and this is not the way you want to spend the holidays. Now, there are many different quirks that our relatives are going to have. So you may have a relative who you consider to be quite toxic, they just have this negative energy about them and they cause conflicts all the time. You may have a family member who's overly critical. Maybe they're always on you about your job. Why haven't you got a raise yet? Oh, are you still earning that much? You're not earning more. So they're just constantly berating you with this criticism, judgment, and it's just this reminder of things that you have not made progress in, yet they haven't seen the things that you have made progress in, or they don't really take the time to actually listen to you and find out about what's going on. You may get relatives who are manipulative. They may make you feel bad and guilty and make you want to compliment them or make you go out of your way to do something for them. You feel you have no choice but to please them or to do things for them in order for them to not be as harsh on you. So whatever the quirk is, you are going to experience that not just within your family, but within life generally. But it tends to be even more difficult around the holidays when we see our family the most and we feel obliged to be nice to them or to spend time with them, even if we may not like them or we may not like aspects of their behavior. So those are some of the things you need to look out for. And it can be very, very difficult when your emotions are triggered, whether that's sadness or frustration or anger towards that person. When you're experiencing those difficult emotions and you're being exposed to their behavior at the same time, it can make for a really unpleasant experience during the holidays, which is a time you should be celebrating. You should be reflecting back on the year you've had, what you've achieved, where you failed, where you've grown and learned. You should be able to look forward as to what you want to accomplish, what you've learned from the failures from the year before and what you want to take forward. It's really a time of year to reflect, take your time and enjoy. And being around difficult family members really takes away and robs you of your ability to enjoy the time. So the first step is to understand what's causing this. What is causing their behavior? What is causing me to react this way to them? So look at your perspective. Look at your perspective on the situation, not only the perspective on that person you're dealing with, the difficult family member that you're not getting along with, but also your perspective on how you feel. And you can use empathy as a tool. So understanding that that family member may say certain things that are not pleasant, what's going on? So stepping into their shoes. So use empathy as a tool to shift your perspective on the situation and on them. So you may have a family member who you consider to be quite toxic. They manipulate you and they always criticize you. You just have this really negative energy around them. So what's going on for them? Like, why do they react this way? Is it because they are inherently a bad person? Or did this start from something? Have they been using this kind of negative personality as a coping mechanism for them? Maybe they've been hurt in the past. Maybe they're not happy with their life and they want to make others feel bad or make others try to understand how they're feeling. So there could be a number of things going on, and empathy is such a powerful tool that allows you to almost cut through your emotions and get into their perspective. Because by understanding where someone else is coming from, it really does make it easier to understand why they behave the way they do, and not to take things as personally. And that's a big one. Because when we feel someone's being negative towards us or critical, we really can take it personally. And when we take it personally, we become defensive. Once we become defensive, we listen to nothing else. We want to protect ourselves and defend our egos, which of course is normal. Once we use empathy, that becomes less of an issue. We don't take it as personally. We start to say, actually, they weren't always like this. Someone hurt them. Or maybe they're living with my aunt or uncle or whoever, and I know they're not happy and they're being negative as a result, but they're putting that energy in the wrong way. Instead of kind of reflecting on their life and making changes, they're simply criticizing other people because it's easier for them to cope that way. So empathy really is a critical tool that you can use this holiday. When you shift your perspective using empathy as a tool, you can scale back from that perspective and look at the family dynamics, like the roles. Who in the family is the scapegoat? That could well be you watching this video. Who is the martyr? Who sacrifices themselves for the pleasure and joy of other people? Who is the problem solver? Who is the one who causes the arguments and conflicts? And who is the one that brings everyone back together? Do people in your family play roles? And if so, which role do you play? That's a big question, because if you understand the role you play, you will know what's going to trigger you and how other family members are going to trigger you and want to get you involved and what they expect from you. If you've always been the people pleaser, if you've always been the one to compliment others, to get things and run errands for other people in the family, they're going to expect that from you. And so that's naturally what they're going to want from you. So that's what they're going to ask from you. So you're going to expect to receive those requests. So understanding the role you play really goes a long way in determining what boundaries you set. Now, in terms of the things you can do, I am going to speak about setting boundaries with a caveat to that. So yes, if your relatives, for example, criticize your life choices, you can say, I'm not going to engage in that conversation right now, or yeah, I don't want to talk about it right now. So you can set those kind of boundaries where you prevent yourself from being exposed to further criticism. If especially if you know that the conversation you're going to have is not going to lead anywhere, it's just going to give that relative more ammunition to use against you, you can set that boundary. Having said that, I don't want to come across as a therapist, another therapist is saying, oh, just set boundaries and it will go away. It's not that easy. Sometimes boundaries simply do not work, especially if you are dealing with family members who are narcissistic. They will not understand the concept of boundaries. And in certain cultures, boundaries are not generally understood. They can be interpreted as disrespect. And so it makes it even more difficult to use boundaries, because then you're not getting your point across. They're interpreting it as, this person's disrespecting me, they're disrespecting the family system. And so maybe boundaries is not an option for you. In which case, the next strategy you can do is to disengage or limit contact as much as possible. So that's simply to remove yourself from being exposed to that person, other than potentially very brief, superficial conversation if you can help it. So you may want to make some excuses if you need to get away. Anything that prevents you from engaging in a deep conversation where you know that person is just simply going to criticize you, and it's going to overpower your ability to regulate yourself and stay calm and centered. If you know that you are unable to stay calm and it's going to cause a problem, then limit your contact with that person. If you've done work on yourself, you've become more self-aware, and you have a good ability to regulate your emotions, then just remember to stay calm and centered, because when you stay calm, you are aware of the emotions that are rising in you. You are less likely to act on it because you are grounding yourself in the reality of what you want to accomplish. Whereas if you don't have that same awareness, it's very likely that the emotions you experience are going to hijack you, in which case, limit your contact. Another strategy I want to share is the importance of self-care, especially at this time of year where we may be invited to things that are going to trigger us or see people who are going to trigger us and we feel obliged to see them. It's important to do things that rejuvenate you, that energize you, that make you feel good. This is the time of year where you need to celebrate another year gone by, all the accomplishments that you've achieved, and simply take the time and space for yourself to do what you need to. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, what do I need? What is causing the anxiety? What has caused the stress? What do I need to help make myself feel better? And it could be doing something spontaneous, doing the thing you've been putting off for so long. Now is the time to embrace it, to really do things that you are going to enjoy, that are going to rejuvenate you and give you energy. Self-care is critical because the better you're able to feel about yourself and the more you invest time in yourself, the more likely you'll be able to share that with other important people in your life. However, if you're burnt out, stressed, anxious, and you're stuck in that state, and now you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to see people who you consider to be toxic, it's going to very quickly overwhelm you. It's going to keep you stuck. So it's so critical to engage in self-care, and that's the most important of the strategy. Not just at this time of year, but all throughout the year, every day. Self-care is crucial. These strategies are going to help you to bear your experience with those people and even to take on a different perspective, and it's going to transform your relationships with them. Comment below on what this time of year is like for you. When you see family members you haven't seen in a while, or when you see friends, do you enjoy your time or do you find some of them really negative or critical? I'd love to hear about it. Let's get the conversation going. Please like and subscribe to this video because there's going to be plenty more content coming out soon.